It tells you you're not good enough. It keeps you awake at night, replaying every mistake, every regret, every what if. But what if I told you there's a way to escape this prison of anxiety and overthinking forever? What if you could find peace, not in the future, not in the past, but right now? In this video, we're diving into Eckhart Tolle's life-changing book, The Power of Now. This isn't just another self-help book. It's a guide to freeing yourself from the chains of your own mind. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never see your thoughts the same way again. Let me tell you a story. The room was silent, but inside David's mind, there was chaos. It was 3:07 a.m. His body was exhausted, but his mind refused to shut down. He lay on his back, staring at the ceiling, his chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. The faint glow from his phone screen illuminated the room, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Tick, tick, tick. The sound of the clock on his nightstand grew louder with each second, as if mocking him. The weight of the night pressed against him. He turned to his side, shutting his eyes tightly, hoping, praying that sleep would finally come. But then, it started. What if I fail the job interview tomorrow? The thought came like a whisper, but it echoed like thunder. His heart rate spiked. What if I say something stupid? What if I forget my words? What if they reject me? He shifted uncomfortably, pulling the blanket over his head as if it could muffle the noise inside him. But his mind had already taken control. It dragged him into a downward spiral, one he had fallen into countless times before. Now, the floodgates had opened. What if she never texts me back? What if she doesn't love me the way I love her? His stomach tightened. He rolled onto his back again, staring at the ceiling. 1,000 scenarios played out in his head. The girl he liked. What if she found someone better? What if he had already lost her without even knowing it? A deep sigh escaped his lips, but the next thought hit harder. What if I never become successful? He flinched. His mind went there often. The thought always crept in when he was alone, when the world was quiet and there was nowhere to run. He imagined a future where he was still stuck, where years had passed, and he was in the same place, watching others move forward while he stayed behind. A cold sweat formed on his forehead. He turned his head toward the window. The world outside was calm. The streetlights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, a car passed by. He envied the silence outside. Inside his head, it felt like he was trapped in a noisy marketplace. Voices shouted over each other, each one louder than the last. Some voices replayed past regrets, the moments where he embarrassed himself, the mistakes he couldn't undo. Others warned him about the future, everything that could go wrong, every disaster waiting just around the corner. He squeezed his eyes shut, but the noise only grew louder. And then, without warning, he was pulled back in time. A memory surfaced. It was so clear, so vivid, it felt as if he had traveled back in time. He was 8 years old again. The sun was shining, the air smelled like fresh grass and adventure. He was running through the park, his tiny feet barely touching the ground. He was laughing, the pure, uninhibited laughter of a child who had never known fear, never known self-doubt. His father was there, watching him with a smile. David remembered this day. It was one of the happiest moments of his childhood. He had no worries, no fears. He was fully present. The world was simple. The sky was blue. Life was good. Then, smash! The memory shattered like glass. David gasped, his eyes snapping open. The room was dark again. The warmth of that childhood memory disappeared in an instant, replaced by the cold reality of his present. His heart pounded. His breathing was shallow. His chest felt tight, as if something invisible was pressing down on him. He was back in his mental prison, trapped in the past, terrified of the future. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. He was never here. He was always somewhere else. Either stuck replaying old mistakes or panicking about what was to come. Never in the present, never in the now. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. He reached for it but hesitated. He already knew what was waiting for him. A news notification flashed on the screen. Recession fears rising. Unemployment at an all-time high. David swallowed hard. His thoughts spiraled again. What if I lose everything? Another notification. This time, a text from a friend. Bro, did you see that AI is taking over jobs? Crazy times. David let the phone slip from his fingers onto the bed. The noise in his mind grew deafening. He sat up abruptly, running his hands through his hair. His breathing was uneven. His chest felt like it was closing in. He stood up and walked to the window, pressing his forehead against the cool glass. His reflection stared back at him, tired, drained, lost. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this wasn't normal. It wasn't right. But he didn't know how to stop it. He didn't know how to silence his mind. His thoughts had been controlling him for years, dragging him from one anxious moment to the next. It was like being stuck in a storm, with no shelter, no escape. And for the first time standing there in the dark, watching the world outside, he asked himself a question he had never asked before. What if the problem isn't my life? What if the problem is my mind? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. Because if that was true, if the real enemy was his own thinking, then that meant something terrifying. It meant he had been living in a prison of his own making, and worst of all, he had the key all along. He just didn't know how to use it. As the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, David took a slow, deep breath. For the first time in a long time, he felt something shift inside him. A tiny flicker of hope, a possibility that maybe, just maybe, there was a way out, a way to quiet the storm, a way to silence the noise, a way to finally live in the now. So, how do you escape the noise? Tolle's answer is simple but profound. Live in the now. The present moment is the only place where life truly exists. The past is gone, and the future isn't here yet. All you have is this moment. And when you fully embrace it, something magical happens. The noise stops. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with rocks. Every regret, every worry, every fear is a rock. Now imagine dropping that backpack. That's what living in the now feels like. It's freedom. It's peace. It's life. The city never sleeps. Cars honked impatiently. A sea of people rushed past, their faces blank, eyes glued to screens, minds lost in distant worries. Conversations were hurried, footsteps frantic. A man in a suit walked briskly, glancing at his phone every few seconds, his fingers nervously refreshing his emails. Nearby, a woman scrolled through social media, her face tense. She paused, staring at a picture. Her old friend on vacation in Santorini, laughing under the golden sun. A quiet sigh escaped her lips. A moment ago, she was content. Now she felt less. A young boy walked beside his mother, tugging at her sleeve. "Mom, look at the sky. The clouds look like a dragon." His mother barely glanced up. She muttered, eyes fixed on her screen. A work email had just come in. She had to respond. The boy's excitement faded. He looked at the sky alone. And just like that, another moment was lost. Somewhere in a dimly lit apartment, Daniel sat on his couch, his hands gripping his forehead. His laptop screen glowed in front of him, the cursor blinking on a half-written report. He had been staring at it for over an hour, but his mind had already abandoned the present moment. It was stuck in the past. I shouldn't have said that in the meeting yesterday. His boss had asked for his input. He had stuttered, over-explained, and left feeling like an idiot. He replayed the scene again and again, analyzing every word, every expression on his colleagues' faces. Had they noticed? Did they think he was incompetent? Then, just as quickly, his mind lurched into the future. What if I mess up my next presentation? What if I never get promoted? What if I stay stuck in this job forever? His heart pounded. His breath quickened. The walls of his apartment seemed to close in. He grabbed his phone and scrolled mindlessly, trying to escape his own thoughts. But every post, every news headline, every perfectly curated life on Instagram only made him feel worse. The past haunted him. The future terrified him. And the present was slipping away. Overthinking is not just a habit, it's a trap. Eckhart Tolle calls it the mind's addiction to time, a constant pull between past and future that makes us miserable. But why do we do this? The answer lies in the way the human brain evolved. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors faced real, immediate threats: predators, famine, tribal conflicts. Their brains adapted by constantly scanning for danger, anticipating threats before they arrived. This was a survival mechanism. But in the modern world, where there are no lions hiding in the bushes, the brain still operates the same way. Now, instead of worrying about survival, we worry about emails, relationships, money, status. We invent psychological dangers. And so we suffer. Imagine you're in a movie theater. The film is playing on the screen in front of you. You're so immersed in the story that you forget everything else: where you are, who you are. You become the story. Now imagine this. The movie isn't real. It's just light and sound projected onto a screen. But it feels real. This is exactly how your mind works. Your thoughts about the past and future, they are just mental projections, like a movie. They seem real, but they exist only in your head. The past, a collection of memories stored in your brain. The future, a series of imagined possibilities that haven't happened yet. Neither exists in the present moment. And yet, we live trapped in this illusion, reliving regrets, fearing what hasn't even happened. The result? Anxiety, stress, overthinking. Tolle explains that the mind hates the present moment because it cannot control it. The past can be analyzed, the future can be predicted. But the now? It simply is. And that terrifies the mind. One evening, Olivia sat alone in a park, her thoughts spinning like a storm. Her relationship had ended 3 months ago. She told herself she was over it, but her mind disagreed. Why did he leave? Was I not good enough? What if I never find love again? She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then something strange happened. For the first time in weeks, she noticed the now, the rustling of leaves, the distant laughter of children playing, the warmth of the sun on her skin. For a brief moment her mind stopped, the storm quieted. In that silence she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not because she had solved all her problems, not because she had found closure, but because in that single moment she was free from her thoughts. A simple experiment. Right now, pause. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Now ask yourself, where is the past? Can you touch it? Hold it? Find it? No, it exists only in memory. Now ask, where is the future? Can you see it, control it, step into it? No, it's just an idea, a possibility. Now ask, where am I? The answer is always the same, here, now. This moment is all you ever have. The past is gone. The future is unknown. The present is the only reality. To escape the prison of overthinking, you don't need more thinking, you need less. Eckhart Tolle suggests 3 ways to break free. 1. Become the observer. Instead of getting lost in thoughts, watch them. Notice how your mind jumps from past to future, creating stress. The moment you become aware of this, you have already taken power away from your thoughts. 2. Use your senses. Overthinking exists only in the mind. The body exists in the present. Engage your senses. Feel the weight of your body on the chair. Listen to the sounds around you. Notice the colors in the room. The more you connect with the physical world, the less power your thoughts have. 3. Accept, don't resist. Suffering comes from resisting reality. If something happened in the past, it's over. If something might happen in the future, worrying won't change it. Accept this moment as it is, and peace follows. Daniel sat at his desk, exhausted from another night of overthinking. But tonight was different. Instead of fighting his thoughts, he simply watched them. He noticed how they pulled him into the past. He noticed how they dragged him into the future. And then, something clicked. For the first time he understood. The thoughts weren't him. They were just passing clouds in the sky of his mind. And he was the sky. A deep, calm breath filled his lungs. For the first time in years, his mind was silent. For the first time in years, he was here. And for the first time in years, he was free. The coffee shop hummed with life. The low murmur of conversation mixed with the soft clatter of cups and the rhythmic grinding of espresso machines. The scent of freshly brewed coffee swirled in the air, wrapping itself around David like an old, familiar blanket. But David wasn't really there. He sat at a corner table, hunched over his phone, his fingers scrolling mindlessly. His coffee sat untouched, steam curling into the air, dissipating unnoticed. His eyes flickered over news headlines, work emails, and social media posts, but his mind was somewhere else entirely. He wasn't thinking about the warm aroma of coffee. He wasn't noticing the gentle hum of the world around him. Instead, he was drowning in a mental storm. I should have said something smarter in yesterday's meeting. Why did she leave my message on read? What if I bomb that presentation next week? His jaw tightened, his heartbeat quickened. His mind spiraled deeper into an invisible battle, one he was losing. Then, a voice broke through the storm. Tell me, what are you running from? David blinked, looking up. Seated across from him was an older man. A long gray beard, eyes sharp yet kind, a subtle smirk playing on his lips. He held a simple cup of black coffee, his fingers resting around it as if he had all the time in the world. David frowned. Huh? The old man gestured toward David's phone. You keep scrolling. You seem elsewhere. So, where are you? David let out a short laugh. I'm just thinking. The old man's smirk widened. Ah, thinking. He tapped his temple lightly. That's just another word for running. David shifted uncomfortably. I'm not running. I'm just lost, the man interrupted, raising an eyebrow. David hesitated. The word stung in a way he hadn't expected. For the first time in a long while, David sat still. He noticed the warmth of the coffee cup in his hands, the gentle hum of the cafe, the way the sunlight painted golden streaks across the wooden table. He looked at the old man. What do you mean by running? The old man leaned back, his fingers tapping lazily against his cup. You're here, but you're not here. He gestured around the cafe. Your body is sitting at this table, but your mind? It's replaying past mistakes or worrying about future disasters. David swallowed. He felt exposed. The old man leaned back, his fingers tapping lazily against his cup. You're here, but you're not here. He gestured around the cafe. Your body is sitting at this table, but your mind? It's replaying past mistakes or worrying about future disasters. David swallowed. He felt exposed. You do this often, don't you? The old man continued. David nodded slowly. Yeah, I guess I overthink a lot, the old man chuckled. Overthinking is just the mind's way of keeping you trapped. You think you're solving something, but really, you're just spinning in circles. David frowned. But isn't thinking good? I mean, how else do we solve problems? The old man leaned in, his voice softer now. Thinking is useful, but only when you control it. Right now, your mind is controlling you. You are not your thoughts. The words sank in. David glanced at his phone, suddenly aware of how restless his hands felt without it. He put it down. All right, he said. So how do I stop overthinking? The old man smiled. First, you must understand, you are not your thoughts. David blinked. Of course, I am. I mean, they come from my brain. The old man shook his head. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed your thoughts? David hesitated. What do you mean? The old man leaned forward. Have you ever caught yourself thinking and thought, wow, why am I even thinking about this? Or maybe you've noticed your mind wandering during a conversation. David nodded slowly. Yeah, all the time. The old man tapped the table. Then tell me, who is noticing the thoughts? David's breath caught in his throat. The old man's eyes gleamed. If you are watching your thoughts, then you cannot be your thoughts. David's mind raced. The old man continued, his voice calm. The moment you start observing your thoughts instead of being trapped in them, you begin to wake up. David furrowed his brow. But how do I do that? I mean, my thoughts feel so real. The old man smiled knowingly. Next time you catch yourself overthinking, pause. Instead of getting lost in the thought, just notice it. Watch it like a cloud passing in the sky. No judgment, just watch. David nodded. Here, let's try something. The old man gestured to the cafe. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. David hesitated, then obeyed. What do you hear? David listened. The sound of coffee cups clinking, the distant murmur of conversations, the hiss of steamed milk. What do you feel? Nah. David noticed the weight of his hands on the table, the warmth of the coffee cup, the soft fabric of his jacket. Now, the old man whispered, where are your thoughts? David's eyes snapped open, his mind had been silent. The old man chuckled. For that brief moment, you were here. David ran a hand through his hair. So what? The trick is just paying attention to the present? The old man nodded. Yes, because when you are truly present, fear disappears. David frowned. That doesn't make sense. Fear is real. The old man's eyes twinkled. Is it? Tell me, can you physically touch fear? David shook his head. Then where does it exist? In my mind, David admitted. Exactly, the old man said. Fear is not happening now. It's either a memory of something painful from the past or an anticipation of something bad in the future. But if you focus on this moment, just the sensation of being alive, fear dissolves. The old man leaned in. Try this. Next time you feel anxious, stop and ask yourself, what am I thinking about? Is this happening right now? If not, can I let it go and just focus on this moment? David let the words settle. He looked around the cafe, people chatting, sipping coffee, lost in their own worlds. For the first time in a long while, he felt something strange. Stillness. He wasn't worrying about tomorrow. He wasn't regretting yesterday. He was just here. And for the first time, that was enough. David sat on a weathered wooden bench in the park, his fingers resting lightly on his lap. The late afternoon sun bathed everything in a soft golden hue. The air smelled fresh, tinged with the scent of blooming flowers and damp earth. For once he had left his phone in his pocket. No notifications, no emails, no endless scrolling. Just this. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with crisp air. As he exhaled, he closed his eyes and listened. At first, there was only silence. Then, gradually, the world around him came alive. The rustling of leaves as the wind whispered through the trees, the distant laughter of children playing by the swings, the rhythmic chirping of birds, each note a song of its own. David felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Stillness. Not the stillness of an empty, quiet room, but something deeper, a stillness within him. The usual whirlwind of thoughts wasn't there. No self-doubt, no worrying about the future, no replaying of past conversations. Just now. He opened his eyes, blinking at the vibrant colors around him. The sky was an impossible shade of blue, clouds drifting lazily. A small dog chased a butterfly, its tail wagging furiously. A couple sat by a pond talking in hushed voices. Everything looked the same, and yet everything felt different. For the first time in as long as he could remember, David wasn't lost in his mind. He wasn't analyzing, calculating, or second-guessing. He was just here. David's entire life had been spent either looking back or looking forward. Regretting things he had said, wishing he had done things differently, planning for a future that always seemed just out of reach. But in this moment, he realized something profound. None of those things were real. The past? Just a collection of memories. The future? Just an idea, an illusion that didn't exist yet. The only thing that was truly, undeniably real was now. David took another deep breath, letting this realization settle into his bones. How many hours had he wasted reliving old mistakes? How many nights had he spent anxious over things that might happen? And for what? None of it had ever changed the present. A soft breeze brushed against David's face. He closed his eyes again, focusing on the way it felt against his skin. Cool, gentle, alive. For the first time, he understood something he had heard before but never truly grasped. He was not his thoughts. He was the awareness behind them. Thoughts came and went, like waves on the shore. But he wasn't the waves, he was the ocean beneath them, calm, steady, untouched. David smiled. The idea was so simple. Too simple. He had spent years chasing peace, thinking it was something he needed to earn, through success, through relationships, through external validation. But peace had been here all along. All he had to do was stop. Stop chasing. Stop thinking. Just be. David glanced around, observing the people in the park. A woman sat on a bench nearby, scrolling through her phone, her brows furrowed. A man walked past, talking loudly on a call, his face tense. Even the children, laughing, running, seemed completely absorbed in their game, unaware of anything else. Everyone was somewhere else. No one was truly here. David wondered, if they stopped, just for a second, what would they feel? He decided to test something. He took another deep breath. Then he asked himself a simple question. Is there a problem right now? Right this second? He searched for something, anything to worry about. But there was nothing. Not in this moment. Sure, he had responsibilities, deadlines, unanswered messages. But none of those things existed right now, in this exact second. The only thing that existed was the wind, the trees, the sound of birds, and him. Still, calm, present. David laughed softly to himself. Could it really be this easy? Had he spent years running from something that had always been right in front of him? He thought about how much energy he had wasted in his life. The countless nights overthinking, the stress, the self-doubt, the fear. All of it was unnecessary, because right now, none of it existed. And the more he focused on this moment, the more he realized he could always choose this. At any time, in any place, no matter what was happening, he could step out of his thoughts and into now. The power of now wasn't just a book, it was a way of life, a way of seeing the world differently, a way of finally being free. David sat there for what felt like hours. He wasn't thinking about what he needed to do next. He wasn't checking his phone. He wasn't analyzing the moment, trying to capture it, define it, understand it. He was just experiencing it. A deep, profound peace settled over him. Not the kind of peace that came from a temporary distraction. Not the kind that came from external validation. Not the kind that could be taken away. But a peace that came from simply being alive. For the first time, he wasn't waiting for life to get better. He wasn't waiting for success, or love, or security. He wasn't waiting for some future moment to save him. He had already arrived. Right here. Right now. And for the first time in his life, that was enough. David stepped out of the park and onto the bustling city street. The world around him was exactly as it had always been. Cars honking, people rushing past, conversations blending into an indistinct hum. Yet something was different. Not the world. Him. For the first time in his life, he wasn't lost in thought. He wasn't trapped in past regrets or anxious about the future. He was simply here. And it felt peaceful. But he knew this peace wasn't something to be experienced once and forgotten. It had to become a way of life. So how could he make sure this newfound clarity stayed with him? He had to practice, every day. David walked past a cafe, glancing at his reflection in the window. The old him would have looked away, lost in self-criticism. You look tired. Why haven't you achieved more by now? You should have done things differently in the past. But now he caught himself. Come back. Be here. The past was gone. It existed only as memories in his mind. The future? Just an idea, a story he kept telling himself. Right now, in this very moment, was there a problem? No. The sun was warm on his skin. The air was crisp. He was simply walking, breathing, existing. For the first time, he felt how much time he had wasted being anywhere but here. Eckhart Tolle called it psychological time, the mental habit of constantly jumping between the past and future, never truly living. David made a decision. Every time he caught himself overthinking, he would say, "Come back, be here." Not tomorrow, not later, now. A sudden wave of anxiety hit him as he checked his phone. A job interview reminder. The old David would have spiraled. What if I mess up? What if I forget what to say? What if I fail? But this time he paused. He put his phone away and focused on his breath. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1, 2, 3. Nothing else. As his breathing slowed, so did his thoughts. It was like dropping an anchor in a stormy sea. David realized something profound. His breath was always with him. No matter what was happening, no matter where he was, his breath was a doorway back to the present. He made another promise to himself. Whenever anxiety kicked in, he would stop and take 3 deep breaths. Because in those 3 breaths, he was free. As David continued walking, he saw a man stuck in traffic, banging his hands on the steering wheel. I get it, David thought. I used to be like that, resisting reality, fighting what is. But that was an unwinnable battle. Eckhart Tolle had said it clearly. Resistance to the present moment creates suffering. David thought back to all the times he had resisted life, getting frustrated when things didn't go his way, wishing he had made different choices, worrying about things he couldn't control. What if instead of resisting, he simply accepted? So he tried it. Right now, in this moment, everything was as it was meant to be. The honking cars, the busy streets, the people rushing around, none of it was good or bad. It simply was. And suddenly peace returned. David made his 3rd promise. Whenever he felt resistance, he would say, I accept this moment as it is. Because peace wasn't about controlling life, it was about surrendering to it. As David walked, he felt lighter. The world hadn't changed. His problems hadn't magically disappeared. But his relationship with them had. The key wasn't to have a perfect life. The key was to be fully present in whatever life was giving him. No matter what happened, good or bad, he had the tools now. Come back, be here. Stop living in the past and future. Breathe. Your breath is always an anchor to the present. Accept. Resistance creates suffering. Let go. David looked up at the sky, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face. For the first time in his life, he wasn't searching for happiness. He wasn't waiting for peace. He had already arrived, right here, right now. And that was enough. David stood at the edge of a quiet lake, watching the gentle ripples spread across the water. The evening sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, the last remnants of sunlight reflecting off the surface. A soft breeze brushed against his skin. For the first time in years, he wasn't lost in thought. He wasn't replaying old conversations or planning what he would do next. He was just here. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill his lungs. And in that moment, he realized the truth. Life had always been here, not in the memories of the past, not in the worries about the future, but here in this moment. He smiled to himself. How much of his life had he missed because he had been living somewhere else? How many sunsets had he not truly seen? How many conversations had he only half listened to because his mind was too busy thinking about what to say next? But not anymore. He pulled out his phone and opened an old note he had written months ago. One day, I'll finally be happy. One day, when I have my dream job. One day, when I find the right relationship. One day, when I have enough money. David exhaled sharply. How many times had he postponed happiness? How many times had he told himself that he needed something else before he could truly enjoy life? But all of that was an illusion. Happiness wasn't waiting for him in the future. Peace wasn't something he had to earn. It had always been here. Right now. He had just been too distracted to notice it. He put his phone away and sat on a nearby bench, watching the water. He thought about the people rushing through life, the way he used to, always chasing, always wanting, always stuck in their minds. He thought about how hard he had made life for himself. It had never been life that was stressful. It had been his thinking about life that created the stress. The overanalyzing, the resisting, the obsession with things that didn't even exist outside his mind. But now, he saw the truth. Life is simple. Breathe in. Feel the air on your skin. Listen to the sounds around you. Observe. This moment is all there is, and in this moment, nothing is missing. David looked around and saw a young woman sitting nearby, scrolling through her phone. Her shoulders were tense, her brows furrowed. Every few seconds she would refresh her notifications, as if waiting for something important to happen. But nothing was happening. Life was happening outside her screen. Birds flying, the wind rustling the trees, the golden light of the sunset reflecting on the lake. But she wasn't here to see it. David understood now, this was the trap most people fell into. They were physically in one place, but mentally somewhere else. Lost in thought, lost in distractions, lost in waiting for life to begin. But life wasn't something that started later. It was happening now. And the only question was, are you here to live it? David closed his eyes, feeling deep gratitude for this moment. He wasn't the same person he had been before. He had discovered something priceless, not a technique, not a productivity hack, but a new way of being. And it was so simple. Stop, breathe, come back to the present. That was it. That was the key. This is the power of now. And once you experience it, there's no going back. David knew he wasn't alone in this journey. So many people were still trapped in the cycle of overthinking, still postponing happiness, still waiting for something to change before they truly started living. But what if they knew the truth? What if they realized that peace wasn't out there, waiting to be found? It was already inside them, waiting to be noticed. If only they could stop and be present. David stood up, stretching his arms. He had started this journey in a state of anxiety, feeling lost and disconnected. But now he had something most people didn't: awareness. And once you're aware, you can't unsee it. You see how much of life people are missing because they are trapped in their minds. You see how unnecessary most of the suffering is. You see that happiness was never in the next thing. It was always in this thing. Right here. Right now. David smiled. He wanted others to feel this too. He wanted them to experience what it was like to truly live. So he turned to the camera and said, if this message resonated with you, if you're tired of living in your head and want to finally experience peace, join us. Hit subscribe now and become part of a community dedicated to mastering success, mindset, and inner peace. Because when you master your mind, you master your life. If you're ready to free yourself from anxiety and overthinking, this is your moment. Start by reading The Power of Now. It's a game changer. And if you want more life-changing insights like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because every week, we break down the books and ideas that can transform your life. And somewhere, someone watching took their first conscious breath. For the first time in years, they were finally here. And don't forget, in our next video, we're diving into The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. You'll learn the subtle art of not giving a fuck, the unfiltered truth about happiness. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Remember, the power to change your life is in your hands, and it starts right now. See you in the next video.